Welcome back to the GTN Show. This week we are unpacking all the action from this weekend's PTO European Open in Ibiza, where we saw one of the best start lists ever.
Yeah, we're also going to be checking in with Sean Conway on his way to 102 iron distance triathlons in 102 days.
Yeah, we also have some very new and exciting tech in the way of TT bikes, helmets and wheels. Oh yeah. Okay, as usual, kicking off with reacts, things we've spotted on social media this past week. And we're going to kick off with this one for all those bike geeks out there that like to analyse those fast bike times. George Fox, a British rider, has ridden a 10-mile TT in 1841. Pretty impressive. Even more impressive when you hear that he rode that on a road bike. Yeah. Pretty phenomenal. I actually used to ride with George or race on the same team as him, and he is a phenomenal rider. He's ridden this on an Argon 18. I mean, theoretically, it's a TT bike frame, so he's gone for a very aerodynamic frame, and then he's converted it to a road bike.
It's kind of the opposite to what triathletes would do.
He has previously done sub-19 on a giant Propel, so very much a true road bike. So he's just gone one up now and set a new fastest ever time for a 10-mile on a road bike, 1841. Phenomenal. Well done, George.
Yeah, it's incredible. And just look at how slam that stem is. I mean, that is some setup to be able to put power out in that position.
The chiropractors are wincing looking at that.
Yeah, I'm wincing. Moving on, we've just spotted, we're a little bit late to this one, but Joshua Patterson, who, if any of you watched the soap Made in Chelsea or used to, he starred on that, but he is currently running 76 marathons in 76 days. And you might be questioning, well, it's a random number, but apparently there are 76 cities in the UK. So he is running a marathon in every city in the UK consecutively. He's currently on day 73 today. So he's just got 3 days to go, and he's getting people to come and join him. So you can go and check out his website if you fancy joining for the last few. I think day 75 is going to be in London, and his aim is to raise £1 million for mental health charity. He's currently well on the way to that. I think we'll share the link in the description below if you do want to have a look at his Just Giving page. But phenomenal effort.
Yeah, very impressive. Moving on, we've got F1 teaming up with Gravel. Now, specifically, this is the Finland Gravel event or Gravel race. They're teaming up with Valtteri Bottas and the Alfa Romeo F1 team. It seems like Valtteri Bottas is quite a gravel fan himself, and if you look on their social media, you'll see that he's involved in a lot of their videos and very much enjoying the gravel bike. And as we've seen in the past, a lot of the F1 riders actually recce the courses on their bikes, so he's obviously just got fully stuck into it.
It's interesting that he's on gravel, because we've seen so many of the F1 on their road bikes, obviously. And do you think Formula One naturally goes across straight to road racing or potentially even TTing, but gravel's a little bit different?
Yeah, interestingly, also that race is in Lahti, Finland, where the 70.3 world champs are, and they say it is home of the happiest gravel roads on earth.
The happiest ones. We need to go and check those out, don't we?
It sounds awesome.
Awesome. Well, over to Ibiza for this next post from Josh Amberger, who says, pre-race in Ibiza done differently. Happy to take part in the beach cleanup yesterday with World Triathlon to do our bit for the community and the oceans. And I know that World Triathlon are constantly striving to try to help with their footprint and make a bit of difference. So cool that they're treating the area with respect, because I think Ibiza, from what I gather, is a beautiful island. We'll hear more from James when he's back.
Yeah, good on you, Josh. And we'll be coming in with more info on all the racing from that later on. Also, Sean Conway, as we've discussed a couple of weeks ago on this show, he's currently taking on his Iron 102, 102 iron distance triathlons in 102 days. Currently, at the time of filming this, is on day 30. He's completed day 29 in the middle of day 30. By the time of filming this, he'll be in the middle of day 31. So do head on over to his social media and give him some support, because it's amazing effort. It's
quite an endurance feat for us to sort of talk. We don't even talk about it every week, because he's going to be going for so many shows, and in between that he's doing 7 between each show. I mean, it's kind of insane to think about. But anyway, keep it up. Great work.
Yeah, and finally, just a little video here to remind us all that even the world's best have their off days.
So, got his foot in his shoe. A little bit. Jan's got that a little bit wrong. Carl Smith gone past him. Aaron Royal gone past him. They're choosing to run all the way up there. Alistair's still running.
On to Tri News, and this weekend we witnessed one of the strongest fields at the PTO European Open in Ibiza. And I think the only fear ahead of it was actually the hype could potentially be more than the performances, but it did not disappoint. I mean, in the field we had 3 Olympic champions, for example, in the men's race, and several world champions across the men's and the women's, and it turned out to be an incredible race. And in fact, there's so much to unpick. We're going to flip the script and we're going to dive into the race now.
Yeah, so the men's and women's races started around 90 minutes apart, with the men's race starting first, and of course therefore the feed was jumping between both the men's and the women's, which made for some interesting viewing. I mean, sure, it could be better, and there were at times I was definitely wanting to see one race versus the other, but I was still on the edge of my seat, so PTO certainly did something right, and I do take my hat off to them for everything they're doing in the sport. Much of the build-up surrounded, of course, the Olympic champions Jan Frodeno, Alistair Brownlee, and of course Christian Blumenfeld. And this is the first time that we've really seen them towing the line together in a long-distance race like this and seeing who might come out on top. So it's very, very exciting. Now, Brownlee was at the forefront of the race for a majority of it, in usual fashion, really hit it hard from the get-go on the bike. It took a while, but he started to splinter that front group towards the latter stages of the bike. And it was actually Kyle Smith that led off the bike just ahead of Alistair Brownlee, with Max Neumann just behind. And it looked like Alistair was going to run away with it, and I've got to say I was quite excited because I've been wanting to see Alistair do this for a long time, but unfortunately he started to fade as Max Neumann started charging through. But this is where the nail-biting stuff came in, because Christian Blumenfeld was also on a mission, tearing through the pack, and he was also chasing Max Neumann down. It came down to the final kilometre and a half, and it looked like, could he catch him? Couldn't he? But Max managed to hold it off very impressively to take the win, ahead of Christian Blumenfeld, and then Magnus Ditlev coming in third, with Jan Frodeno in fourth.
Yeah, I mean, I think there were so many predictions, weren't there, ahead of this race, and I don't think anyone would have got that prediction right. But I know all of those names were talked about before.
I mean, obviously.
Oh, you did you?
No, I didn't. I did not put Max Neumann in there because I thought Aussie, the time difference, the travel, he's an incredible athlete, but I just don't see it happening. Well, there we go.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people have been surprised. The women's race, I think, was maybe less surprises, but still amazing racing. So no surprise to see Lucy Charles-Barkley lead out the swim, and great to see her back racing. She's had a long training block, and she kept onto that lead through the bike, rode solo, and came into T2 with the lead. But it was Paula Finley bringing a group of girls up through, including some of the very quick runners, and that's where the race was won from. So, I mean, all eyes have been on Annie Haug and her incredible runs recently, and she delivered yet again. I mean, Ashley Gentle is an absolute class runner, and I saw a clip of Anne running past Ashley, and it's just insane to see how that girl moves. So Lucy did manage to hang on with a very consistent performance and was delighted to get third, but it was Anne Haug who ran past Lucy and Ashley very comfortably to win, and then Ashley Gentle in second. And I think there were a few question marks around her after that race the week before, when she just maybe jet lag and things had got a little bit on top of her, but she's back on top again, and I think that puts her to number 1 actually on the overall ranking.
Yeah, well, I guess with that sort of calibre of racing and seeing them all towing the line together, what do we think then? I mean, it obviously poses a lot of questions and gets us thinking a lot about the Ironman World Championships coming up later in the year. What do we think? Who are the favourites? I know we're about 5 months out from them, or from the women's at least.
Yeah.
What do we think?
The season is now happening, isn't it? And I think we've all been desperate to see these big races start, because lots of athletes have posted great performances, but on their own, sort of thing, like solo performances. And I know it was a bit of a shame to have a few missing or not have their day, but that is racing. I mean, everyone's desperate to see Laura Philipp race, for example, and shame she was missing. Chelsea Sodaro didn't have a great race.
Yeah.
Daniela Reif, I think I was excited to see what she was going to produce, because she's been talking the talk, and it's like, last year she had a great race in St George, but then it didn't work out so well at the end of the year. So yeah, there was a couple there that have still got, I guess, question marks, and it's making it more open in the women's side. I mean, Lucy Charles-Barkley is sort of there as a one of the certain ones, I think, to defend the podium, but can she move up? And then you've got to say Annie Haug with the way she's running at the moment. But also her bike. I think people just talk about, I'm doing it here, talk about her run, but she got the third fastest bike split.
Yeah, that was very, very
impressive. I think people don't necessarily notice.
And we're only talking by seconds as well. Yeah. It's not like by minutes. So, yeah, very impressive.
Sorry, I've just gone on the women there. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on the women before we move on to the
Well, I'm equally as impressed, and I think there are some similarities in the women's and the men's in terms of these athletes like Lucy Charles-Barkley, who, okay, I think she's been quite open in saying it's not the result she was looking for, but actually for her first race back in some time, that was a very impressive
Putting
result.
it all together.
Yeah, and we've got the same, obviously, on the men's side with the likes of Jan Frodeno and Alistair Brownlee. Okay, again, maybe not the performances thereafter, and again, they've been very open in saying that. But, I mean, hats off to both of them. Alistair absolutely dominated the race for a significant portion of it and then fell apart. And it's clear his running, and he said, he kind of went into it knowing his run wasn't quite in the place it should be. He's got a bit of work to do there, but my goodness, I mean, his swim and bike is clearly very good. Same for Jan, he's kind of there, he wants to work on that kind of top end stuff. And then Max Neumann, I mean, wow. What an athlete, and someone we really should be keeping an eye on. I mean, we all obviously knew he was an incredible athlete after his result in Kona. Was that a one-off? Well, he's now proved it certainly wasn't, and I feel like he's a sort of athlete that could suit the Nice course as well.
He's now going to have a bit more pressure on his shoulders, isn't he? And a few more eyes.
And I did enjoy his interview after.
Yes.
Yeah, very Australian. But anyway, also another exciting thing that's happening in the race or over that weekend as well was the Race Ranger device. Now, if you've been under a rock for the past year or so, the Race Ranger device is essentially a draft-busting device. It sits on the athlete's bikes and it uses lights to indicate the distance you are from an athlete, and that can be set depending on those draft distances. That was rolled out and used at the PTO European Open and also the World Long Distance Champs, which were the following day, and apparently it was a great success. We do have a big in-depth video coming on that, kind of behind the scenes. James has gone, followed the athletes, the Race Ranger guys, and he's going to be showing it all off in action at the event. And I believe also where it was used with the World Long Distance race, Howard Vine, the lead elite bike official, had some good words to say about it here.
But seriously, having a flashing light that kind of changes colour, the pros actually know where the elite actually know where they stand, and they were backing off, or they were going through on the overtake.
Right.
So,
cool.
Yeah.
Did you see it not work at all?
Nope.
Cool.
Nope. I didn't catch it. Didn't see anything where it wasn't working the way I was expecting it to work.
Great. Awesome. Thanks, Al. Cheers.
All right, on to what the tech, Mark's favourite section of the show, and especially this next piece. This is from Scott. They have the new Scott Plasma RC TT, and apparently this is the fastest bike that they have ever made, and they are saying it's 33 seconds quicker than its predecessor, over 40k.
Yeah, now just to be clear, the RC TT is not replacing the Plasma RC Tri-bike though. This is a fully devoted UCI legal TT bike. So unless you are planning on just doing sprint distance triathlons or you don't care about integrated storage or hydration on your bike, then this probably isn't your triathlon bike. However, it's obviously a lovely looking bike, and it's always interesting to just see kind of the new tech that's coming out and how they're developing things. So they've actually created a really interesting new slotted headset. So it allows them to pass the cables through the headset, which allows them to bring the headset in narrower, more aerodynamic. They've increased the trail length by 5.2 mil, which will increase its stability in sort of the crosswinds. And they've got this very innovative cockpit, which is very adjustable, which is obviously very important for TT bikes and the positions, and also it's just really easy to change everything out on. And as Heather said, it's a really nice looking bike. So it's available just as a frame set, includes a seat post in the cockpit, and it is costing just under £7,000.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, talking of going from good-looking tech to maybe more interesting-looking tech, a couple of months ago, you might remember we were talking about this new helmet that was spotted on the X Pro cycling team that had this sort of quite large at the front with a vent to be able to break the wind so the wind could go through the helmet. Well, POC have maybe taken inspiration from this or have something that's a little similar that they've just released.
Yeah, so the whole idea here is you've got a high pressure area on the front of the helmet, and this helmet that's used by the X Pro cycling team is trying to decrease that high pressure area, and they had an inner layer through the helmet that the air would pass through and kind of come out and exhaust at the back. They're sort of trying to do a similar thing, but they haven't got this inner layer. But what they have got is these three very big kind of openings and ports at the front, again, to reduce that high pressure area, but also it's going to improve cooling effects through the helmet, and of course, presumably aerodynamics. So the helmet is called the ProSen, or maybe it's Procen? I don't know.
I think, yeah.
I'm going to say
Someone will
ProSen,
correct
but
us, yeah.
given they're called POC, I would have thought maybe Procen. I don't know. Interestingly, though, it's only available in a medium, and then apparently they just provide lots of different pads and bits for the helmet that then you kind of adjust to make it fit you perfectly, and the positioning. And it costs £350. So, yeah. Does look like a nice helmet, to be fair.
Yeah.
Also, we have spied at the PTO European Open in Ibiza a potentially new disc wheel. Now, this was on Kyle Smith's Canyon Speed Max. It looks like it's a new disc wheel from Parkours, who have famously pushed that wider rim design. Kyle actually led off the bike, obviously just ahead of Alistair Brownlee, so we'll be excited to hear more about this in due course. Presumably, as he's riding it, it's kind of ready to come, so hopefully we'll be seeing it in the very near future.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Well, now it's on with the rest of race news, and away from the PTO Open, there was actually a huge amount of very exciting racing, and obviously it was the week of the World Championships, the World Triathlon as well, so we had the World Triathlon long distance race, which was a bit of triumph for the French. So the women's race was won by Marjolaine Pierre. It was Sarah Svenks in second, and then Gerrit Frans Lerald, who rounded up the podium in third.
Yeah, on the men's side, it was Marjolaine Pierre's partner that took the win there, Clement Mignon, who just seems to be doing incredibly well this past year or so. He came just ahead of Antonio Benito Lopez, and then in third, Matt Troutman, and actually Joe Skipper way down in 20 seconds.
Yeah, and that reminds me, actually, I just wanted to mention that we saw a DNF from Kat Matthews. I mean, she was, in her own words, expecting a lot of her body coming off that incredible performance in Texas, and obviously the last 6 months that she's been recovering. So it's a shame not to see her finish, but I think a wise decision, so I'm sure she'll be back stronger after that. We also had the World Tri-Cross, or the cross triathlon. The women's race was won by Sandra Meerhofer. Second was Loane Duvoisin, and Alize Patisse, was in third.
Yep, and on the men's side, it was Felix Frisier that took the win there. No surprises. Ahead of Lucas Coca and Arthur Frisier in third.
Yeah, now there was quite a few athletes who decided not to come over to Europe to race the PTO Open, even with a big prize purse, because the St. George 70.3 was actually a pretty big race as well, the North American Championships, and it did attract a very strong field. Now, the women's race was won by Jeannie Metzler, second Sky Munch, and third Danielle Lewis. So yeah, a strong field there, but the men's even more so.
Yeah, we had Sam Long taking the win there, fairly convincingly actually, ahead of Trevor Foley in second and Jackson Laundrie in third, and Lionel Sanders actually just missing out on the podium, finishing in fourth.
Yeah, I think he might have been a little disappointed with that performance. We also had 70.3 Marbella in Spain, so not very far away from Ibiza. I think some of the athletes who didn't get the invite to the PTO Open. But the women's race was won for a second year in a row by Nikki Bartlett, so she defended that title. Kaida Kvyatcha, someone can help me with that one, was in second place, and Daniela Kleiser third.
Yeah, that's a very convincing win from Nikki as well.
Yeah, great performance.
On the men's side, it was Nicholas Mann that took the win there, ahead of Nick Heldorn, and third was Jordi Moya.
And then over on the other side of the world, we had a full Ironman with Ironman Australia. Well, the women's race was convincingly won by Kylie Simpson, Radka Kalfal in second place, and then third, Fiona Moriarty.
Yeah, and on the men's side, it was won by Stephen McKenna, ahead of Tin Van Berkel and Sam Appleton, rounding out the podium.
Oh, that was a busy weekend of racing, wasn't it? Okay, it's time to take a look at your pictures and your videos. And this month, we've kind of changed things up a bit, and we are asking for your swimming-related pics and videos. And if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, maybe you're braving the open water for the first time. I know we've just started to dip our toes in, it's pretty fresh. Or maybe you're in the Southern Hemisphere and you're enjoying some beautiful swims. Whatever it is, we would love to see them. So you can share those using the uploader, which is on screen. You can also find in the description below. So this is just for the month of May, and we have certainly got some beautiful photos that have been sent in. And this first one is most certainly from the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah, I feel like we shouldn't have started on this because we're starting
downhill.
pretty high. No, they're all fantastic. But this one comes from Sarah, coming from Lady Elliot Island, Queensland, Australia. Just got home after spending 6 days at a swim camp on Lady Elliot Island in Queensland, Australia, with Swim Tours Australia. Swimming in an aquarium every day. The Great Barrier Reef was absolutely awesome. It certainly didn't feel like a chore to swim train, and wow. I mean, these photos are incredible, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, she must have been having a few little breaks from something to be able to take those pics. Or
Yeah.
They had a great photographer with them. But yeah, that's going to distract from... So it beats a black line in a swimming pool by a long way.
Yeah.
This next one is the first open water swim of the year. So we are heading over to Kansas, USA for this from Clayton. And Clayton says, the water was fine. Only took half an hour to start feeling my toes again after getting out. I mean, half an hour, that's fine, Clayton. Well done.
Yeah. Next one comes from Max in Devon. He's just
colder.
finished a session with his local squad. He's got his first 70.3 in 4 weeks. At 55, I may be too old for this stuff. No, never
And he
too
says,
old.
10-degree water. I mean, it's got to be healthy, hasn't it? It's supposed to. There's all this science about how good the cold water is for you. So embrace it whilst you can before it gets so warm in the UK.
And final one from Adam. This one's from Wicklow in Ireland. I mean, I just feel like it must be colder, but it's probably not. It's still 10 degrees, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I said cold morning in the water for 6:30. 1 month out from first Olympic training for Ironman Cork in August. He's got a 31:30 on track for a sub 30 at the Olympic distance. Oh, good work.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Well, yeah, best of luck. Well, now for the new section of the show, Say What? Nice. I didn't get James involved last week, so I'm pleased you're embracing this. So this part of the show, we run through any comments that we have enjoyed on the channel over the past week. And so we invite you to go wild. No, maybe not that wild. So this one I enjoyed. It came under our video about how to boost run stamina. And Berla Marty said, well, stamina isn't my issue. It's my bowels.
You enjoyed this comment.
Well, a lot of people did. It got 23 thumbs up.
Wow, okay.
And I think partly because people probably found it quite funny, but also can relate to it.
Yeah, I was going to say, are they funny? I mean, I would be relating to it, sadly. So yeah, I feel for you on that one. You do all that training, and then you have to kind of deviate in your race to find the nearest bush or the nearest
Have you got any
loop.
advice for these people out there?
Well, I mean, as we know, my nutrition is not my strong point, and I just
Partly because of you don't want
so
to.
I mean, I do reduce the amount I eat, and I'm it still seems so. I guess I'm having a little bit of a therapy session here. I probably shouldn't divulge too much.
This is
TMI.
This is what Say What is all about.
I mean, I know, obviously, pro athletes talk a lot about reducing fibre beforehand, and I do that, and it doesn't. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and I think sometimes your stomach just, as a woman as well, it can vary depending where you are on the cycle, as to how your bowels kind of react to that, and also the amount of how hot it is and the hydration. But I mean, all this is quite strange because when you asked me about that, I was like, yeah, oh my god, I always have a problem. A race, I always have to stop. I mean, when I did my marathon, I had to have 2 minutes out, and I still just did my PB. But then I raced this weekend. I did 50k, and that's honestly the first time I can remember doing a race of more than 10k and not having tummy issues. And I don't know what I did differently, which is the frustrating thing. I'm like, I didn't eat very much again, but that's kind of normal.
Yeah.
I drank a lot because it was really hot and I was really thirsty. And yeah, I was the first 10k. I was chatting to people I was running with, and I was like, I know in about 5k I'm gonna have to stop. My stomach is not happy. It's just a matter of when. And then it passed. So, I mean, that's not really helping you very much, but it's still, for me, very much a process of just trial and error and a bit of dread. I always have a race, starting a distance race with that dread of just I mean, when I did Comrades, I only had 4 proper lose stops. I mean, it's 87k, but 4 is quite ridiculous.
Yeah.
But that, for me, is quite normal.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So maybe if you guys have advice.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very fortunate in that respect. I've never really had issues, but I do know people that would take loo paper on every run without fail because they know they're probably going to have to run off into a bush or something at some point. People I've worked with in the past work by process of elimination. If they, just start eliminating things and figuring out perhaps what it is. But I feel for people. And yeah, if you, as Heather said, if you've got any advice, if you've experienced this yourself in the past, drop in the comment section down below. Or if in fail, get that Imodium.
Oh, yeah, see, that's one thing I do never actually try. I know a lot of people do. A lot of people swear by that, but yeah.
Anyway, we did have another comment. There were lots, if you remember last week's show, we were talking about the wind tunnel testing and the validity of wind tunnel testing and all this stuff. This comment from Dartboard Earth said, so based on aerodynamics and wind tunnel testing, it might be worth testing shaving the front, but not the back of the legs to see if the teardrop that creates it gives a huge added advantage, or should I just test it this Saturday? Well, Dartboard Earth, stay tuned for this weekend's video. we have a video more or less testing that. You may have noticed that I shaved my beard off and then it's come back again. This was all done within a video as well as my legs, and that your idea was referenced and maybe tried. So yeah.
Did you leave a little mullet at the back of your legs then? I mean, I'm
You can stitch in. All I will say is we are pretty tight on time, and I didn't quite do as much as I'd hoped, but we did do some fun stuff.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that. Well, hopefully you guys have enjoyed the show. If you want to support the channel, do give us a like. And remember, you can subscribe by clicking on that globe. And if you're after something a little bit less scientific based, well, we've got some GPS Strava out for you to take a look at.